Welcome back to another episode of Simply Robotics, the podcast. I'm your host, Monique, and I am joined by my lovely, awesome, and amazing friend, Jaren, who was with me in the first episode of like the What If recap, and Alex, who, made a special request. She was like, I don't mean to crash your show, but I need to talk about this. You can find me on all social media platforms at Simply Robotics. The hashtag for the show is Simplyrobotixpod. And don't worry, my guests will share their social media info and all that stuff at the end of the episode. So to get started, who wants to take it away with, again, is it the Watcher and the intro? Because I actually didn't go back and watch the first episode, but I'm pretty sure he didn't say this last time. Like, he's saying new stuff, right?
I think it was the same thing, but shorter. From what I understand, what his little monologue is like word for word from the comic books. That's just what I heard because I haven't read the comics myself, but okay. I believe it's the same thing, just a little shorter this time.
Yeah. So just like to preface this, What If is based off of variant comics. So within like all comics, they have what you call a trade, which is the entire storyline. Within that trade, there's always a variant, and the variant is basically the what if. So like, say they're talking about Spider-Man. What if Spider-Man got to go in space for a day? That's literally the variant comic. So they can tell a different story, but it doesn't necessarily mess around with the same story that they're telling. It's just kind of like a what if. But in the comics, variants are usually very dark. So like something tragic usually always happens. And in the end, the Watcher's just kind of like, glad that's not our universe, right? And then like they move on into the next thing. Did I freeze?
Oh, no. You did a little bit, but it's okay. It's completely fine.
But yeah, so the Watcher always has like a spiel at the beginning of the comic, or he'll have a spiel at the beginning and basically say like, this is how a wrinkle in time or one decision can like cause a ripple effect in the universe and change a whole universe essentially. And that's basically what he gets into. And then he goes into whatever story he's going to tell.
I wrote down right as, I guess maybe he said the same things that he said last week. Mm-hmm. The one thing that stood out to me was that he was just talking about like your destiny. And he said, is your destiny determined by your nature or the nature of your nature of your world, right? So that's interesting because we go into T'Challa, who is not the Black Panther in this episode. And I'm like, oh, so he's not the Black Panther because he's not in the world to become Black Panther, so like what's his kind of destiny? Or does he end up becoming the Black Panther because, just to jump ahead all the way to the end, he's
not the Black Panther yet.
Right. So,
Maybe.
So does he still
thoughts on that, but I guess we'll talk about that when we get to the end.
Yeah. So I just, when I heard the Watcher say that, I was like, oh, does he say the same thing every time? But again, when I rewatched it today, I completely zoned out. So that's neither here or there. But yeah, so let's take it through the episode. I'm going to give it up to one of you to do that. Whoever wants to.
Alex, be my guest.
So starting from the beginning, again, quick reintroduction. My name is Alexandra the Great, aka T'Challa's baby mama.
Okay.
So the very beginning of the episode, we see young T'Challa and T'Chaka, of course. And T'Chaka is actually voiced by the same actor who played him in the movie. The actor who played older T'Chaka voiced both young and older T'Chaka in this episode. And it's starting off with just like T'Challa's like, look, I'm trying to go out and run these streets, but Dad won't let me go. He ends up playing in the field, throws a spear outside of the Wakandan borders, goes through the force field like we see them do. And Yondu, instead of Yondu coming to Earth to find Peter Quill, because that was the intention, he sent out his assistants or whatever to do it for him.
He sent out Razorface and I can't remember the other guy's name.
Razorface and or was it Taserface? That's funnier. And so the lackeys basically are like, look, the alien waves were off the charts, so we picked up this kid because we thought that was him.
I thought it
Because
was
of
funny
course
when
they
they
were
was just like
picking
they
up on
all
that
look the same.
vibranium.
I know, and Yondu had like the little like hologram of Peter Quill, and he's like
I was
holding it
like,
up to
this is
T'Challa.
not
Like,
the
do
kid.
these look the same? And they're like, yeah, you got
It
two
was like
eyes,
2
got two
eye
ears.
holes, a mouth hole, and 2 ear holes. They all look the
Uh-huh.
same.
He said
We were
all
all
humans
like,
look alike to me, and I was like, wow, the racism. It's like, nah.
Can we
is
talk
it
about how T'Challa wasn't
speciesism?
scared at all? He was just like, "What's good?
Yeah,
I'm
he's like, I've
here."
been waiting for this. I've been bored here in Wakanda.
I mean, he grew up in Wakanda. The technology that they have there was probably even better than Yondu's ship. So he was like,
True.
"Oh, okay, this is cute. You know, me and
Yeah.
my dad be riding around the G wagon. You got this cute little Honda Accord. That's cute for you.
Hmm.
Like he not new to this.
Yeah, so well, actually, even before that, the episode starts off in present time, right? Where
Mhm.
we see T'Challa as an adult, and he's actually Starlord in that moment,
So
and we
they
get to see him.
mirror Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Is it Guardians of the Galaxy 2? No, Guardians of the
No, the
Galaxy
first
1
one.
when
You're
he's
absolutely
going to
right. I
steal
skipped
the
all
orb.
over the
Yeah,
intro.
I just
Yeah.
remember that. I was like, wait,
So
we
they
did something
mirror
before
the
that.
scene
Mhm.
where I can't remember the character he was playing. Hansu's character is there to capture T'Challa. He's Star-Lord and he's there to steal the orb. And come to find out, T'Challa got a whole like beehive. Like he has a whole like Star-Lord hive. He's like they're his biggest fans and they're like praising him and everything. And it's supposed to turn into like this epic fight scene, but T'Challa, being the diplomat that he is, turns it into a training session
Basically,
Mhm.
yes.
and then ends up
Yeah, he's big
recruiting.
famous. Seeing God, what was his name? I tried to look it up online too. I couldn't find it. Whatever his name was, him being a fangirl threw me off a little bit. Like, like in the very beginning instance, he was like, "Oh, you Star Lord!" Like that was a good little switch up. Because when Peter Quill was Star Lord, he was like, "I don't know who you are.
Right.
I
But
don't know this
the
man.
real
Sorry for
switch
this
up
man."
was
But
that T'Challa, because he's basically running through that whole line that Peter Quill says in the movie. He's like explorer of the galaxy. He does all these
mhm.
things, all this other stuff. T'Challa, but he wasn't actually doing all of that stuff in the movie.
Right,
T'Challa's
right,
actually doing all of those things. And then on top of that, he's like the intergalactic Robin Hood. So he's like stealing from the rich and giving to the needy.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
So
So
seeing him being a fanboy at first was funny, but I feel like it went on a little too long throughout the
it did.
episode.
Yeah. Yeah. It went on like the whole episode.
hmm
So yeah, so they start off in present day and then they do that flashback that you mentioned, Alex. And I thought that was great because as we're seeing T'Challa as Star-Lord, I'm there like, so how do we even get here actually? And then bam, flashback, explains everything, takes us back into the present day. And then we see like T'Challa's in a nightclub with what they're scavengers crew or
The
whatever.
Ravagers. I think it's the
Ravagers.
Ravagers.
I don't know words. And they're just kind of talking and remembering or recounting of all of T'Challa's like
his
highlight
greatest hits.
moments.
It's almost like a
Yeah.
greatest hits playlist.
Right.
hmm
And then there's a comment about like how did you get Thanos to like not do the snap? And then who do we see?
He just pulled up at the spot with his drink, like, what up, though?
So like mellow, so like I mean that's him still, but so like somber and chill. And I'm like, yeah,
He's
this is
like,
this
yeah,
is like
we had a little talk. We talked it out and we reasoned. I'm like, he's supposed to be the Mad Titan. You don't reason with someone called the Mad Titan. So we need a little bit more context on how this worked. And he was like,
right.
oh, who would have thought that all you needed was I think he said a good debate or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we
And
did. Someone needed to talk to him, so it makes sense to me because pretty much what they said was everything we've been saying on the internet for years. Like, bruh, I get what you're trying to do, but this is genocide. Can we not?
yeah.
But what's
And
so crazy is he changed his mind simply by doing what the Avengers never even thought to do, was offer a freaking alternative.
right. And he said that. He said by talking to T'Challa that he like, was exposed to that there's more than one way to reallocate the resources. And it's like, yes, if someone maybe would have just tried to talk to Thanos, but also was that version of Thanos in a space to receive a conversation?
I think that's the other thing. I think he got to Thanos before he started the
Getting the
looking for the
stones.
stones and Because here's something else I slick didn't like. Miss Cha-Cha, college Chala Cha-Cha. I ain't
No,
like
I
that.
didn't like that at
that.
all.
I like that. Mm-mm.
It kind of
It
felt
was
like
like
how,
cringe.
It's your
white.
highness to you, Miss Thing.
Okay, you know how like white people sometimes will hear your ethnic name and they'll just be like,
Ooh,
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
call
nickname
you
you something
Gigi
else.
instead. Girl, what? No.
Yeah.